Something to Noodle On. I'm your host, Mac.
And I'm Hannah. We are average 30-somethings exploring the complex questions that keep us awake at night. Lately, we've been thinking and talking about Gen Z getting into grandma hobbies, right? And then now dropping the college experience for the trades.
All right, but now we're talking about millennials because they're also doing something outside of the norm. Statistics are showing more and more millennials are rethinking children and marrying later in life. But why? Let's talk about it today on Something to Noodle On.
Okay, picture this. All right, you with me? After college, you find the dream job that you've actually went to school for. At your dream job, you find the person you want to spend your life with, right?
Oh my gosh.
So you get married. Then the talk of children comes up and it's all happy and white picket fence. Perfect, so to speak, right?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, that's what millennials were told should happen and would happen after college.
Okay, you're right. But then, reality and the whole world sets in, college debt, uncertain economy, and just the general cost of living became our main focus of life, for sure.
For sure. So we all know and feel right now how bad the economy is and how it's affecting everyone, right? Each generation seemingly has to deal with their own ups and downs, but millennials got the shit end of the stick.
Yeah,
and
we
are
did.
seeing, And so we're seeing more and more people age 30 to 45 are not getting married or having children, the stage of life they're quote unquote supposed to be on.
Yeah. That's what we're told, right? You're supposed to get married and have kids, right? But to really understand millennial actions, we need to understand their mindset. So let's dive into the once in a lifetime events that we continuously seem to find ourselves in, right? So we're going to do a little history lesson to kind of get you about how we're feeling right now, right? So we all remember where we were when we found out about 9/11. Most millennials were in school, whether it be elementary or middle school. The single event launched us into a war that lasted nearly 20 years. This in turn pushed us into a recession where unemployment skyrocketed and minimum wage stayed on the ground. The federal minimum wage has stayed the same at $7.25 an hour since 2009. So currently in 2026, it is still $7.25.
Ridiculous.
Yes. But the price of everything else has gone up, right? Inflation right now is so out of control with gas prices, groceries, clothes, all the necessities. They're all going up in price. Our inflation rate for the year right now is about 3.5%. Now,
that's crazy.
Yeah. So Hannah and I have access to this fun little website. It's called investopedia.com. So it has like all the inflation rates. So Hannah, click into this website and scroll down. And this is just really interesting. So it tells us the year, and then there's a second column that has the inflation rate. And then there's a column that also tells us like what had happened that year to kind of like trigger, right? And so it's actually really interesting to look at all of this stuff. And so just kind of pulling out some like interesting ones, right? So 1966, 3.5%. So kind of where we are now, but back then, that was because of the Vietnam War, right?
Right.
And then at 6.2 in 1969, we have Nixon, right? So, and then we went into a recession that next year, 5.6. So like we're seeing all these like economical things that are happening. So there's a lot of like really interesting ones on here. And yeah.
Holy moly, there's a 9.25?
Yeah. Well, look at 1974. So in 1974, 12% because of Watergate.
Oh my gosh.
Right? Yeah. Nixon. Okay, but let's scroll back to like what's kind of irrelevant to us, right? So the millennials were born in like 90s, late 80s, right? So to give you an idea, like looking at some of those 90s, like we're seeing like 2.7, 1.7, 1.6, 3.4, 1.9. Like that's kind of the area of the 90s we're in. And not a whole lot really happened. Tech bubble. It's talking about federal.
Oh, Y2K.
Yeah, Y2K is on there, right? So interesting, right? But then the war on terror started because of 2001. And so then it goes up to 2.4, right?
Right.
And then we have all this other stuff. We have Hurricane Katrina that hit 3.4 in 2005. Then we're going to talk about this, but the bank crisis, right?
Yep.
So that
jumped 4.1.
Right. But then look at 2008. It's a 0.1.
It's a 0.1.
It's
Interesting.
0.1, right?
I wonder if that
Thanks,
has to do with
Obama.
what we're going to talk about. Oh, yes.
Well, yeah, because then we have the Affordable Care Act, like at 1.5. And then, like while Obama's in office, we're seeing super, super low inflation, like 1.5, 0.8, 0.7, 0.1.
Yeah. Hooray!
Thanks, Obama. We love you. No inflation. But then, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic, right? So then now shit's going up. In 2021, 7% inflation.
Woof. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yikes.
And then Russia, 6.5. Because like Ukraine has all the wheat in the world, right? It's like all that shit gets, not all of it, but a good chunk. So, and there's like flour and everything. So everything goes up, right? And then 2023, 3.4, and then 24 and 25, 2.9, 2.7. So again, a little bit lower, but now 2026 is on track to hit 3.5. Like I think right now, year to year, July to July is 3.5 right now. So
that's crazy.
We're feeling it. We're feeling it under our belts. Yeah. So that's like a huge little reminder of what's on millennials' minds, is just
no kidding.
The market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and then also like, okay, so let's get into it, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So the great housing market crash of like 2007 to 2009.
Right. Crazy.
Right.
I remember this.
Crazy. Well, the worst part of it centering around 2008. Because that's like when it hit the fan, right?
Oh yeah, shit hit the fan
for sure. So like what led up to this, you might be asking, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was mostly due to risky mortgage lending, a massive housing bubble driven by terrible credit, all bundled up into some home loans that were pushed as good financial security. The reason we remember 2008 is because this is when the bubble burst, right? So, and everything came crashing down. The subprime, quote, quote, mortgages became a big thing in the 2000s. So banks were pushing that because they wanted to have people sign mortgages and have houses. But essentially those with less than perfect credit would get access to a home loan. So
hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when banks started seeing late payments or no money incoming from all of these loans, that's when the banks collapsed.
Yep, I remember that.
That's when that buyout happened. Do you remember that too?
Yeah.
Millions of homeowners who had bought at the height of the market found the value of their homes falling below mortgage.
Crazy.
Like their mortgage value. Yeah. Without the house itself as collateral, they could not refinance, they could not sell, and many could no longer afford to even pay their mortgages, which then led to a recession that saw the most layoffs from jobs, hiring freezes, wage freezes, and general economic decline since the Great Depression.
Which is, that's crazy. And that's the era that like a good chunk of millennials, right, are graduating high school, right? So, or they're still in high school. The older half of the millennials might be in college or about to graduate college. That's when this is hitting the fan, right?
Yes.
Just to give you an idea of like, we've been in this economic decline this entire time, right?
Yeah. It's like, what else can be thrown at us?
What else?
That? Oh, great.
Yeah. No.
Well, and like
crazy.
Yeah. Well, and my husband and I, we had bought our first home in like 20, I want to say sometime in 2011, I think, or even 2012, possibly. So it was like after that, but it was still like recovering from that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So, but it was still like terrifying and really hard to get a home loan as a first home buyer because they were so like, nuh-uh, you have to have
They wanted everything under the moon. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah, you had to have perfect credit, perfect everything, because they're like, we already went through this. This is not going to happen again.
Well, yeah, because the government, I remember, had to like bail out the banks,
Yeah.
like
they did.
Big, not even just like little credit unions, big banks were going under,
Yep.
And like that can't happen, And so the government bailed out the banks. And so because of that, like they were scared to give people loans. And so like I got my loan for the home in 2021, and yeah, they wanted everything under the sun, like T's crossed, I's dotted, because that shit was not happening again,
Exactly. And the T's had to be like perfectly straight line. If there was a crooked, you're out.
Yeah. Or it like cursive only, like fancy people.
Oh man, cursive only.
Oh no, Gen Z can't read it. No. I joke. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be mean to y'all, but they're not teaching cursive in school anymore.
I know.
That's crazy. Okay, that's a different pod. That's not this pod. Okay.
It's not this one.
All right. So we went in depth on like student loans last week, right? So we're not going to go super heavy into it, but just reiterating, right, that millennials were sold on the lie that college would further their career, that we needed an expensive piece of paper to get a better life. Well, the reality, when we graduated, we were stuck with student loan debt and a job market that either wasn't hiring or our degrees became obsolete because of AI or just other future tech in general. So
yeah. Or like just developing tech companies and things like that too. So like if you went into like a Bachelor of Fine Arts or something, your degree was like, haha, that's nice.
Yeah. Aw, cute.
Aw, cute.
You have that. Yeah. Because what are you going to do with that,
Yeah. Well, and then jobs also too is like because of the recession, those who were supposed to be retiring those years now we're like, maybe we don't retire.
Maybe we don't.
Right?
Yeah, because their retirement funds or 401ks got fucked. I remember my mom like crying because her retirement got like cut in half during that first recession. She lost so much money because of it,
Yeah, I actually remember that because my grandmother had a lot of that too. And her like entire thing got cut big time. Like she, like thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah, my mom too. Like so much money,
so much
money to cry over, and,
yeah, for real.
Yeah, and so like these people, they're not retiring because they're like, either they can't, they're afraid, and so if they're not retiring, well then we don't have a job to move into, So after college, we're like, well, what do we do? So a lot of us, if they weren't able to get into like the corporate job that they thought they were going to get into, they've just kind of been like making by, right? That's kind of like where the millennial mindset's been. We're just kind of getting by for right now. It's temporary, but
yeah. Yeah. Well, and then like just when things were getting back to normal and we thought we were recovering from the recession, finally landing that grown-up job and making payments on our student loans.
Yay!
Woohoo! The pandemic hit.
We love that.
Yeah. And 24 million people were left without a job.
Yeah.
But thank Biden for freezing student loan payments during that time.
Oh, yeah.
But my goodness, like people were struggling with the only necessary people being able to work.
Yeah,
right?
like nurses and like food employees, right?
Fire department, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you didn't have like a necessity job, then like you weren't working.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times people weren't getting paid either. Like that's, you're not working, you're not getting paid. It's not paid leave because it's required,
right?
So it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really
a wild
hard
time,
Yeah.
And so that hit a lot of people, Like some people were able to manage, they were able to get by, but the people that were really hit by it, like they're still recovering from
100%.
like all that they had to do to make it during that time period. And now they're like, oh my God, you know?
Yeah. I will say that my husband's place of employment, because everything was switching to online and stuff, they allowed their employees to come to work. They had to, you know, wear masks and do everything like that.
Yeah.
But they collected the online orders from the store and then sent those out. But that way they could still employ their employees to work, which was nice because, oh gosh, I could not even imagine.
Yeah, no, that would be so hard.
No, oh my gosh.
All right, well, this is funny, not funny, but here it is, you know. I find it hilarious every time I hear boomers make excuses for why millennials just aren't working hard enough and that they did more with less when they were our age. Well, guess what, Karen? You literally did more with less because of current inflation rates, you bitch, you know. So my favorite excuse that they use is that if we just stopped ordering avocado toast and Starbies, that we'd be able to afford a home, right? Well, someone broke down those numbers, and the avocado toast is costing you roughly like $1,000 a year. So
okay,
but that daily coffee, if it's like $6, whatever, that's $2,000 a year. So $3,000 a year, not even close to what you need for a down payment on a home.
Nope.
Which, by the way, the national average for a down payment is $88,000. So no, Jim, it's not the avocado toast that is keeping us from buying homes and like pushing further into our like careers, right? Like, no, it's
give us the damn toast.
Give us the damn toast. All right. So now that you have like a basic understanding of how we grew up, basically always being afraid of some economic downturn that was only supposed to happen just like once in a lifetime, but it kept happening over and over and over again, you can really get an idea of where our headspace is when talking about the responsibilities that now come with marriage and children. So we've been through a lot, and it's no surprise that we just don't want to add more to a full plate.
Yes, I agree with that 100%. Like millennials take marriage as a risk, right?
That's so interesting.
It's so interesting. Not only a financial risk, but like an emotional one too, right? Because if divorce happens and everything that goes with that.
Right.
But an article stated that 84% of the people in this particular survey, right, thought that marriage was an outdated way of thinking and that it was not needed to have a fulfilling and committed relationship.
84% of people thought that in that article?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 35% of millennials remain unmarried at age 35 compared to 19% of Gen X at the same age.
Wow.
And that's by like the Pew Research Center and stuff like that. So, yeah. Millennials are more likely to move in with each other first and establish their like financials and to see if living together works out or not.
Which I think is smart.
Which I think is smart. Yeah. The average millennial couple cohabits for about 4.6 years. So a little 4.5, a little bit over depending, right? Before marrying. So longer than any previous generation, according to the National Center for Family and Marriage Research, which was done in 2024.
That's really interesting. But I think it's a smart move because like think about like our grandparents, right? Where they're young and then they get married and then they move in, right? Like the money you get at the wedding was typically for the down payment on the house, you know?
Correct.
And all
which was what, $30,000 tops?
Jesus. And like for real. My partner's grandma's house was like 70 grand. And I'm just like, stop. Like
that's less than a down payment these days.
Literally. And so it's just interesting, but I think it's smart because why would you wait to then see if you guys are compatible? Because it's those little things, right? The little things on a Tuesday that you're going to realize, I hate this person. I cannot live with this person. And if you moved in with them before getting married, you can get out of that. But if you're married, there's a lot more to get out of that,
There's so much more to get out of that. I mean, like I said, divorce is, I come from a family of divorce.
Same,
families,
yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I was young enough that I didn't necessarily see all of that happen, but I have friends who have gone through stuff and everything like that. And it's just one of those things of like, even if you have kids, then there's like the separation of stuff. There's the emotional side of all of that.
Well, and divorce is expensive.
Oh my God, it's so expensive.
So expensive. Like lawyer fees, like divvying everything up. And like, depending on your state laws, like it's either 50-50, like there's just a lot that goes.
There's a lot that goes into that.
A lot that goes into divorce. And so millennials are probably just thinking like, do I actually want to marry this person? Like, is this the person? Because dealing with all of the aftermath if it's not, or if it's not going to work out,
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, obviously, fact, back in like the 18th century, marriage was turning from an economic partnership to love, right? We're now Prince Charming, right? But now with the way that the economy is, it seems that finances and the economic downturn has made millennials kind of turn back to economic partnerships, right? Like, this makes sense.
Right.
We should be together.
Yeah, it does make sense. Millennials treat money as like a baseline requirement for stability now.
Yeah.
They do not see at all the like traditional gold digging side of it anymore, as it was once referred to, right? But more as securing financial compatibility, and then will push off marriage for a while until both partners are stable or out of debt and financially secure. Right?
Yeah.
The Bank of America did a couples and money study back in 2024 and found that 63% of millennial couples maintain at least one separate bank account, which is the highest rate of any generation. So like his and hers, or whatever.
Yeah, instead of like combining everything into like one bank account after you guys get married, you're like, okay, now we have one account, but now they have their own accounts. I think that's smart. That makes sense to me.
I understand it for sure. I will say though, like for my husband and I, we have a shared account.
Yeah.
And everything kind of goes in there. But that's just the way that we do it. But I understand why there's a reason for the separation for sure.
Yeah. Well, so like the way my partner and he has his own account, I have my own account, and then we have a joint account that all of our bills auto pay out of. So we each funnel money into that account every month, and then everything just kind of auto pays on that,
Yeah.
That way we can like, if we wanted to buy gifts for each other, we can do that secretly still. We also don't have to be like asking each other to make big purchases. Like if you have that money in your account, that's your money,
Yeah. Also, jealous about the not knowing what I'm getting my partner for gifts. Dang.
Okay, what y'all need to do.
He always knows.
Okay, unless it's like an online thing, right? What you could do is just like withdraw cash and then like cash shop, right?
Oh, okay, smart.
But like most people do like online. Yeah. All right. So obviously, huge reason why millennials are not getting like married, because like divorce, and it just doesn't financially make sense, right? They're like, well, why are we doing that? But all right, here's another reason, right? Let's be real. Weddings are just downright expensive. So you've got the cost of the venue, food, flowers, dress, rings, hair and makeup, photographer, right? And that's just the big things, right? So the list goes on and on when we include all the little things in there. The average price for a wedding in the United States is between $26,000 and $39,000. So
my goodness,
basically a new car for just a single day of your life, right? So like, ain't nobody got money to be dropping on a single day. So it's no wonder people just aren't wanting to get married or are just hosting it themselves.
Yeah. And then I looked it up actually back in 1990. The average price for a wedding was $15,000.
Okay.
And then in 2000 was $20,000, which when you make up for inflation is about $34,000.
Okay, so it's still it's expensive. It's not a cheap thing. No, it's no cheap date getting married.
No.
It makes sense. Like I can see why a lot of people are just like doing the courthouse thing and then maybe having like a small reception or a small get together. I can see that.
Yeah. I will say, though, when my husband and I got married, we were frugal for sure. I made all the table toppers.
Oh,
We didn't get like a big, huge cake. I think the one thing that we like really spent money on was the photographer.
sure.
But, and then we also ended up having help with that, which was amazing. And we weren't like asking for that or anything like that. It just happened.
Yeah.
And so that was incredible. But like, we paid pretty much everything with cash. Like I paid my dress off with cash, and then we just made sure that everything was done and paid for by the time our wedding came about, and then we didn't have anything left to pay.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but not everybody can do that, right? But so
yeah. I don't think I could do that. Like, because I want the big wedding. Like, I'm one of those girls that has, like, I've been thinking about my wedding day since I was a kid. I want the big like princess dress, and I want to feel like a fucking princess on my wedding day. And I know that comes with a price tag. But as I get older, I'm just like, man, how do I justify that? Like you can't,
We have a craft day. So I will come to you and we will go crafting and we'll make everything.
Oh my gosh. All right. Well, here's another reason, guys. This one's obvious, but it needs to be said as a reason why people aren't getting married because, well, that's what we're talking about today. They just can't find someone they deem worthy. I know that sounds harsh, right? But more like the dating scene these days are just abysmal, and most people just don't care to keep looking for someone. The hookup culture has just pretty much ruined the happily ever after. And people are seeing just the worst in people, and they're not actually dating with intent, right? So,
yeah, that's true. However, when the right person is found, millennials aren't necessarily avoiding marriage, right? But they are redefining it.
Okay.
So, to wait to find the right person, to reach financial stability, and to test cohabitation results in marriages that last longer. And this generational demographic has brought divorce rates down by like 28%.
That's crazy, actually. That's
that's
number.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's a big number.
28% down in divorce rates is like sure, like 28 out of 100 small, but when you're like considering what the topic is, that's huge.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense though, because if we're not like our parents' parents, right, rushing to get married in our 20s, like I personally, granted, I know like you and some other people have had great success with marriages in their 20s, but like statistically, getting married really young doesn't pan out well, because you're still really young, you're still learning. And a lot of times you're just like rushing into it, or you think that that's the next thing that you need to do. But I think it makes sense that by waiting until your 30s, you've had several relationships under your belt, probably several like pretty big or long relationships. You know what you want, you know what you don't want. And when you find it, you're like, okay, like you're my person,
Yeah, dibs.
Oh my gosh. If we are lucky enough to find the one we want to spend the rest of our lives with, we're told the next step is children. But roughly 45% of women aren't following the course. But can you blame them? After you saw the cost of a wedding, let's be real, who even has money left over for children? Right? Okay, so with only 55% of millennial women giving birth, the rate of childlessness is the highest amongst our generation than previous generations. So Gen X has roughly 62% of women in their 20s and 30s gave birth, and 64% when it comes to baby boomers. Now, this is crazy, this next one.
Okay.
80% of the silent generation, aka your grandparents, had children.
Whoa.
Right? 80%. That like, it's crazy. Leaving millennials as the first generation making the decision to be childlessness, right? Like to not have a child.
Right. Yeah. To not have a kiddo. Yeah. No, I get that. I mean, having children and raising a family was something that was pushed on us as part of the millennial lie,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
So we were told a family was next in the logical step after marriage and would make life more fulfilling. But when you consider all we've been through, that decision has extra weight.
Right.
Right. Here are some of the more popular reasons millennials are saying no to children.
All right. Let's be real. Children are just expensive, right? The average hospital bill costs to deliver a baby in the United States is $20,000. All right.
Oof.
And that's just to have the thing. Raising a child in 2026 from birth through age 18 in the U.S. costs an estimated $303,418. That's about $16,857 per year to just afford a child in the United States.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, and that cost doesn't even include the possibility of medical emergencies that may happen, right? And the real possibility that your babe is leaving the nest at 18, more like 25 these days.
And this
which is fine.
I believe it.
Right? Who has time?
Nobody
has
has
money
time.
for nobody has time.
Nobody
or
has
money.
time.
But the cost doesn't include mortgage, taxes, or anything for the adult expenses. So if you think about the federal minimum wage that we mentioned before, $7.25 an hour, that is about $15,000 a year. A child is literally unaffordable.
Yep. Unaffordable. There's no way.
Affordable.
Yeah. You're not able to survive on the federal minimum wage, which we've been saying, right? And hopefully you're able to get a job that pays more than the federal minimum wage, right? But if you have kids, or maybe you even have an oopsie, there's a lot of money there that you have to now fork over for a child on top of your own living expenses, on top of maybe even having to pay back student loans. There's just, there's so much there. There's so many layers as to why millennials are not having kids. It's just, we can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, and when after we had our first kiddo, we waited a good 3 years, one for me to be, healed and ready or whatever.
Sure,
but
it's a whole thing on your body.
It's a whole thing. But we sat down, we had a real discussion about it too, instead of just let's have a kid,
Yeah.
We were can we afford this? How are our financials looking? Do I need to get a job? And do I work up until second baby due and then just be at home? Or it's just that there was so much more that went into discussing and financially than we did with our first one. And so, but I think that was really good because we've been saying, it's just children are expensive.
Yeah.
And I,
doesn't make sense in your life,
doesn't make sense. And I had some medical complications. And so that lower price was not mine.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Especially when there's complications involved, or if your baby has to go to the NICU, all of those things, they add up the cost in the United States, right? Because we don't, our healthcare, whatever. But I know another thing is people are always just waiting for the right time, oh, it's not the right time. We're not making enough money. I want to be more financially stable. I want to have XYZ thing first. Well, that right time never comes. And now all of our millennials, we're in our 30s, and so it's how much longer is it that you're waiting the right time, because you're going to miss your opportunity. We have a baby making window, there's a clock here.
Biology.
Yeah. There's a clock here, and complications can occur the longer you wait. So it's just one of those things that's you have to weigh, does it make sense for you? All right. Yeah. Here's another one. And I know I really resonate with this, and I'm sure a lot of millennials do as well. But when we were in high school, health class, parents, even shows on MTV, right? They highlighted a teen pregnancy as the ultimate way to just destroy your life, with shows Teen Mom, sharing what it's like to raise a kid while going to school and having work. The idea was really just to scare sexually active teens away from having unprotected sex. But if it wasn't on TV, then it was our parents just drilling it into our heads, do not have a baby at a young age, right? And I think because of all of the drilling, I feel as if I were to have a baby right now, I would be like, oh, fuck, what am I going to do? You know, like,
what am I going to tell mom?
My mom's going to be so mad at me, you know? And like, I'm 35. Like, it's going to be fine, I promise, you know? And so I think that's just like one of those things that we still feel like a kid. How are we supposed to raise a kid?
Yeah, that's true too. Well, and it's also kind of like too, we had to grow up really fast, right? Because of all of the things that have happened. And so like bringing another child into the equation is like, I need an adultier adult, please. Yes. I cannot make this decision.
Bueller. Someone else, please.
Please. But like with on the topic of like children and everything like that too, and with a society being in a place where both parents have to work these days, it makes childcare a necessity.
Yep.
And some people are lucky enough to have their family step in while they go to work, but that typically isn't the case.
No,
Childcare can range from infant to toddler, drastically increasing the price, with the national average being anywhere from $13,000 to $15,000 a year.
Yeah.
Right. But that's still wildly dependent on like location, how many children you have, how much coverage you need. Some states even charge upwards of like $30,000.
Yeah. I think we read like New York was like crazy.
Yeah. Washington, D.C. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, and like that's the thing too, is like that's one of the main reasons why my husband and I decided that I needed to stay home and just be there for the kiddos, because we could not afford childcare. Yeah. So like I worked up until like a few days prior to
oh my gosh.
And I was like, I'm working as long as I possibly can. And so, you know, and then I had baby number 2, and then I stayed home. After that, we were lucky enough that we were in a position for me to be able to do that.
Right. But not everybody is.
Not everybody is. And like, if I would have gotten a job, I would have had to have 2 jobs, because only one of those jobs would counteract childcare.
Right. Yeah. Well, and that happened to one of my friends too. They had a little babe, and she went back part-time, and they were like sitting there doing the math, and they're like, this doesn't make sense. Like my entire like work day, everything that I'm doing is the same cost that I'm making that childcare would cost us. And so she's like, what if we just like, I stopped working so that way we're not just like basically throwing away my paycheck to childcare, because I can just stay home with the kids, get that time, you know, with when they're younger. Right. And so that's what they decided to do. But it was also really hard on them, because the hubby, like he made good money, but it wasn't like we can have a lot of extras. We're going on trips. Right. It was like we make just enough money, you know?
Well, yeah. Same boat for sure. I mean, we budgeted hardcore. Like, this is what we have enough for. This is for emergencies. Don't touch it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like this is like pure emergency. Like going out to eat, not an emergency.
Not an emergency. Yeah. We have to figure out what we need to eat. We have to do all of the things. No vacations anywhere.
Right.
You know, like it was hunker down, buckle up time for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, like on the notifications too, like some people will say this is a selfish reason, right? But maybe they're just a little jealous that it's not them, just saying. But another reason millennials are not having kids is because they're just enjoying their free time. Being able to go out dancing, see a show, or just go on a trip requires a lot of coordination when kids are involved. But without, you can say yes without hesitation to any invite that comes your way.
That's true. Can attest to that.
Getting sitters and stuff.
Getting sitters, yeah. Having to get sitters.
Which costs money.
And then relying on family, and then time and availability, and trying to match schedules. And matching schedules as an adult. Ooh, Impossible. And so, like, when we were around family, having family available was really nice. But when hubby got promoted and stuff, we moved out of state, and we've moved out of state a few times,
right,
to different states. And we move away, there's no family available. And so I have to do some research. I have to get sitters. I have to make adult friends who have other children to like possibly say, hey, you know, and then it's just, it kind of compounds itself a little bit with that. But yeah, it's definitely, it was harder. I will say now though, now that I'm at the age, upper 30s and stuff like that too, having more adult children to just be able to just walk out the door and be like, bye. Dinner's in the fridge.
Yeah, heat it up, 250,
yeah.
Whatever. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier when they're a little bit more independent.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting too, because like it was a very similar moment that like it kind of clicked for me. So I was out with some friends, and their brother-in-law calls them and is like, hey, what are you doing? You know, and he's like, oh, we just went to this brewery. We're about to do an escape room. And his jaw dropped, and he's just like, you don't realize how lucky you are to just go to a brewery and then just like on a whim do an escape room. Like he's like, the amount of time that we would have to like schedule a sitter and like be back and be worrying that like, oh, did we spend too much time at the brewery? Do we have time for the escape room? Because the sitter has to leave at 5. You know, he's like, it's so much hassle that we don't even do it.
Yeah, which can then put a strain on the relationship. Sure. And then like there's other factors and things that pile onto that as well. So
yeah, definitely putting a strain on the relationship, because before like kids, right? It's like it's you and your partner, and you're able to focus on each other. But then when that kid comes in, like that is what you both are focusing on. And if you're not putting in that extra work in your relationship, like there could be resentment. You might not feel loved anymore. Like stay together for the kids kind of mentality, you know? And so like that could be a whole other reason why people are just like, what if we just didn't have kids? Like, you know?
Yeah. We're also seeing a surge of people wanting to focus on their career, right? Which is great.
Yeah.
Climbing that corporate ladder takes long nights and missed holidays.
Yep.
And when you have a family, that brings guilt.
Oh, yeah.
You know, other people are simply just wanting to preserve their peace, coming home from a long day at work to then have to entertain a toddler sounds beyond exhausting.
Oh, yeah.
And it is. I can, yep.
You're like, can relate.
Can relate. But it's okay to put yourself first and not want to be a part of that life. Yeah. You know, and that's a choice. I mean, that's a choice that I made because I wanted to have kids.
Right.
Like, and my husband and I wanted to have kids. So we knew going in
sacrifices.
What the sacrifices are going to be. Yeah, we knew. And we were ready and prepared. Still exhausting, still hard.
Oh, yeah.
But at least we kind of had like our mentality wrapped around it a little bit.
You're like,
more.
We wanted this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, because like I think about it too, like think of like your worst office work day, like the worst day you had at work, and you're just like, man, like today sucked. And then you can't come home and decompress. You have to come home to a kid that is like, I'm bored. Yeah. Like, and you're just
or
like,
needs your attention. Or
they need your attention. They need you to cook for them. And it's just like, God, like fucking make something on your own, you know? And it's like, oh wait, you can't, you're 5. And so I just, there's a lot of people that are just so strong, like being able to push through and do all of that for sure. It's a lot. It's hard. A mental load for sure.
It's a mental load for sure. And I definitely see parents, and there are times too where, you know, I have come home and been like, I kind of snap at things or at the kids or at the husband because it's like, you're just done.
You reach the end of your rope. Yeah.
But like you always have to remember to come back and be like, oh God, I'm really sorry about this and stuff like that too. And a lot of times I've noticed that some parents just don't do that, which is kind of sad, but they're working through their own stuff also. But it's also kind of like, bro, you know what this kiddo is like, you know what the cost is here. Like, yeah, I get a little salty sometimes when it comes to like, you know what you signed up for, step up, you know.
100%.
Like,
yeah. all of this into account, right, I think it makes sense why more millennials are choosing another path, right? So we have all the stuff that happened with all the recessions, the economic decline, like not wanting to get married. It costs a lot of money. Kids cost a lot of money. I get it, right? And I actually really like that our generation and Gen Z, right? Because we did a couple episodes about Gen Z, getting trade jobs, not going to college, doing grandma hobbies, right? Like we're breaking away from the mold. And I really like that because we don't have to make the same choices as our parents. Marriage, kids, homeownership, those were all the things that we were told defined success. But finally, we stopped to ask why, allowing ourselves to choose if marriage and children make sense in our own lives and choosing to define our own success and happiness. We just, I like this. I really like that we're asking why. We're breaking away.
Yeah. And we're finding out what works for us, not what has been told to us.
Yeah. Not like this is just the next step of life that you need to do. Like you've been dating, now you marry, now you have kids, now you buy a home, you know, like.
Right.
Yeah. We're doing our own thing.
It's not as simple anymore at all.
Yeah. And I love that. All right, guys. Well, as always, I hope this episode gave you something to noodle on, whether that was thinking about your own reasons for wanting something different or understanding why someone made the choices they did for their life.
This week, we want you to think about other ways generations have gone against societal norms. What do you think will be next? Follow the conversation on Discord or our social media at A Pod to Noodle On, and join us next week as we set down the happy topics and jump back into reading more Am I the Asshole?
Yeah. Spoiler alert, if you have to ask people online, you probably are the asshole.
Probably.
Just saying. Well, that's next week. So until next time, bye.
Bye.